Bill Maher brought on to his Club Random show, which is the show where he sort of gets drunk, gets high, and talks about whatever with his guests, the pro-Trump actor Zachary Levi, who supported Trump in this election. And the first clip, there's a few things I want to show you, a lot of interesting stuff from this back and forth. I do, especially in this moment, really want just a bunch of conversations between people who disagree. And that's what this represents. And then, as I said, interesting things came of it. The first part, though, is infuriating because the Trump supporter, Zachary Levi, says such a tired, it's just a dead horse that's been beaten for so long. And I'm exhausted even addressing it, but it was a more tense moment and a few things important to address from it. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button. Here's Bill Maher and Zachary Levi.
This is the main difference between the left and the right here. When the left loses an election, yes, they grumble about it and they say things they shouldn't, like he's an illegitimate president. They don't actually try to stay in office. Kamala Harris.
Hang on a second. Bill, if Hillary Clinton and the Democrats got their way when they were challenging Trump and saying he was an illegitimate president in 2016, and they somehow got that bullshit Steele dossier to somehow, which was, by the way, all completely nonsense.
You watch too much Fox News.
No, I don't watch Fox News at all. I legitimately do not watch Fox News.
Well, you're getting
well,
this
hold on a second. Bill, did they not all think that he was a Russian asset and that Russia had fixed the election?
Okay.
Was that not what they were saying?
Okay, but I got to explain to you the difference.
Was it not?
And then we don't have to talk about this all night. I will. But here's the difference. 2016, Trump pulls an inside straight and wins the Electoral College.
Yeah.
Hillary acknowledges this happened, concedes the election before the cock crows the next day. Same as this time. Kamala Harris conceded the election, said, I lost. There's no lawsuits. There's no demanding recounts. There's none of this bullshit. I trust the system, and I say the other guy won. Now, what happened after that, the Russia thing, first of all, that's completely debatable. But if you really think that there's some sort of equivalency here between after the guy who you admit won the election is in office, carping about him, saying, oh, the election was unfair because of this or that, that has gone on throughout history. But nobody has done what he did, which is he still has not conceded the 2020 election. Took it to court 63 times, was laughed out of court 63 times, pressured the Justice Department to not, asked his supporters to march on the Capitol.
He didn't ask them.
I did appreciate that Levi sat there silently for long enough for Bill Maher to really flesh out the point. I think maybe resonated with some of it because it's such an important one. The headline here was pro-Trump movie star blurts, I don't watch Fox News at all, when Bill Maher accused him of watching them too much from Mediaite. We'll look at more clips in just a second. But that part I want to address really quickly before getting to the core part of it, which is I hear a lot of times when I'm talking with someone, I'll reference, oh gosh, there's your Fox News talking point. And they'll go, I don't even watch Fox News much, or I don't watch Fox News at all. And it's like they believe that if you can't get them on, oh, I've guessed the exact outlet that you got that from, the point you're making with it is not still valid. Because the point I try to make, I'll use the term the Fox Newsification of politics or of people's minds. It's not Fox News. It's that they were a trailblazer in the unique type of dishonest media that they now have created a mold that other people can use to emulate. And now we have a lot of outlets like Fox News. And we've seen a lot of abandonment of journalistic principles, not just because of Fox News, but they represented this uniquely powerful and influential version of the cheapening and the worsening of our media. So that part, important. Then I'm not going to go through. He made the argument well there. I've done it. Maybe now we're in the hundreds of times. I think definitely in the 100 times. So find that all over the place. But I I don't get it. I really don't get how other people don't get it. Okay? And it hurts my mind. And I'm having such a good day. So I'm not going to let it worsen this segment or my mood in it, but it's infuriating because I feel like people aren't engaging with it. There are things that I hear from the MAGA side, and if I listen long enough, I might not fully agree or I might think that I have more context that they should know about, but I can see if there's something to be resonated with. And there's no point in politics, there's no argument in politics that's as easy to resonate with than democracy has to come first than every other policy stance. If you're a one-issue voter, it has to be democracy. And what Trump tried to do, and I'm not going to go through every single detail of it because my regular viewers are so tired of hearing it, was not in the interest of democracy. And in numerous shows I've now been going on, some are going to be uploaded soon, some have already been uploaded, and the people I've been bringing on my show to talk to, I can't get it through their heads. And I think it's because while some are genuinely confused about how it's ridiculous to make the false equivalency between what Democrats have done in the past versus what Trump tried to do as it pertains to blocking the democratic process, I think it's because a lot of them are scared. And I'm not saying this in a mean way. I have compassion just coming out of my heart today. So I'm really not feeling mean towards anyone because it's a scary thing to feel like your whole worldview could be rocked. I think if you accepted the premise that what Trump did was disqualifying, then every argument becomes moot. Every other right-wing argument you make is irrelevant if you defend Trump and Trump did the things that he did. So then you can't let it get into your ear. You got little forces, little shields up so that I can't get it into your brain. Maybe that's what's going on. And Bill Maher probably feels the same way. You know, of course, Maher gets things wrong. He gets things right. This is something he gets right a lot, and he brings it up a lot to his credit. And it's infuriating to watch people almost not try to listen to such a foundational point. Then we move on to this on the subject of cutting off family members because of a difference in political views.
It's the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I thought, since there was my last editorial I did Friday was all about yelling at people who cut people off or suggest cutting people off for the holiday.
Oh, I reposted it.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
good.
yeah.
I mean, well, we'll get into all that, I'm sure. But, I know I've lost plenty of fans on the far left who hate when I do that, but it's just so true. And it's just so wrong. And so I do love to stick the knife in them when they do stupid things. I
know that's a phrase, and I think we've used it in titles before, but that is a really, quite the phrase we use. I just like sticking the knife in someone. I like to feel the human flesh break open as I violently Producer Ben, could you take that off screen? I need to get the next clip prep. I told our bonus show audience we got a new, not new in the sense of being in the show's world, but new to the position he's in. Ben, who's still getting trained on the producing, but we're loving it. And I totally agree that the last step on anything, politics or religion or anything, should be cutting off family. I think that needs to be, of course, there are situations where that ends up being the justifiable ending. Like if a family member I've heard a lot of stories from LGBTQ folks who they got disowned by their family. Well, then a political view caused the separation of a family, right? And the fact that that person doesn't feel like until they're accepted again by their family, they're going to be able to have a relationship makes sense. Heartbreaking. Irrational on the part of people disowning. And that really bolsters the point I'm saying, which is that for the person disowning, it shouldn't have been a view like that gets in between the most important thing in life. And this is something I'm going to be talking about more, but I think defining oneself as like pro-family in their political advocacy got sort of tainted by Republicans who usually cited that when they were saying we don't like certain types of families, right? So we're pro-family, our version, but that's silly. I'm pro-family. This show is a pro-family show, and one that understands and wants to support the absolute crucial part of a happy, wonderful life. And it comes in so many different forms, which is family. And so I'd recommend to all you, I don't know your story, I don't know your relationship with your family, but please, for everything that I say, and I mean it, about the destructiveness and harm of the MAGA ideology, I personally have a bunch of folks who voted for Trump in my family and extended family. And I would not, again, barring very extenuating circumstances, allow them to drift out of my life. Because if we care about politics and these principles because we care about people, and if so crucial to our broader society are the families that comprise it, the communities that comprise it, then I would not let my principles of advocating to uplift all families and all people get in the way of my own interpersonal loving of family, despite how horrible I might believe certain views to be. Then here's more.
The problem, going back to what we were talking about before, why are there so many people on the left who are feeling like I've got to cut off my family? And I will say this. It is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I don't think we should ever have gotten to this place. I think part of the reason why we have so much animosity when it comes to things like religion and politics is because we were told for so long, don't talk about those at the dinner table, when in fact we should be talking about it and learning how to be more civil in those conversations. But all of the people on the left that might want to cut off their family, and by the way, some people on the right too might be guilty of this, it's because of the bullshit that the legacy media has been saying over and over and over and over again, Bill. I mean, when you have almost every network television show, other than Fox News, when all the rest are saying Hitler, 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 and all of his supporters are Nazis, and Madison Square Garden is a Nazi rally, and all of these things, of course you're going to spin all of these people watching that into a tizzy of fear that, and
okay,
so it's
as long as you acknowledge that Fox News invented spinning people into a tizzy.
Bill, that's not true.
Over bullshit.
That is not true.
Fox News doesn't have a history of bullshit?
Of course they do, but they're not the one who started it. Fox News was a response to, because all of the rest of the media was basically more left-leaning, and Fox News was like, okay,
but they could have been right-leaning and not also completely journalistically.
I agree. That's why I include them in all of that. I think there are some people on each one of these networks that try.
Okay, so it is. I'm not. That's my new Year's resolution. Preemptively, I'm starting now, which is when we've gone over something 2 billion times, and I know it would cause me to spiral to go over it again, I'm just not addressing the everyone called him Hitler thing, okay? I also already addressed that Fox News uniquely created a mold for propaganda in media. Not that it wasn't there before, but in modern American history, a uniquely structured way to do it that's premised primarily on fear. Why do most of us not know someone who just never, ever doesn't have CNN on? But we all know somebody who never doesn't have Fox News on. Because whenever you tap into this really visceral sort of fear, that is intoxicating in the most distorted of ways. And they've done it uniquely. It's not that there aren't things that induce fear in the advocacy of left of center media outlets. I have said things that should make you afraid, for sure. Sometimes things in life are scary. But the propagandistic nature of it is worse on Fox News than we see across left-wing platforms, even with all the massive, massive issues with those platforms, which I'm not ignoring whatsoever. But again, however he would diagnose how we got here, where do we go from here is a really important question as well. And it is important to understand as I try to break down how we got here so we can figure out how to go forward. But I know it doesn't start with us just isolating more, which again, we've gotten some angry feedback because I've been engaging so much with people of all different political ideologies, but in particular MAGA folks, and it's oppositional. It's not okay. Now we love each other's ideology, but I'm gonna pierce through. I'm gonna pierce through people's bubbles, and maybe it doesn't pop the bubble, but at least they go, "Huh, I might be in a bubble." Just the very fact that I, to continue with this analogy, got into their bubble and said, "Hello, I'm Luke," will make them go, if someone got into it, there must be an outside world to this bubble. And one day, maybe I pop it. Poetic. Here's a little more.
I said it again in my last one. The Democrats, they lost a crazy contest to a crazy person. I totally get that.
I don't know that is the case, though.
You don't think he's a crazy person?
I don't. I actually don't. I don't think he's the paragon of morality, but I also don't think that the
Not
country...
talking about morality. That's a different issue.
But I would say, though, I mean, listen, there's lots of details that one can add or subtract to this conversation, but in brass tacks general terms, the 4 years of his presidency were significantly better than the 4 years of the Biden-Harris presidency and vice presidency.
Well, there's so much more complicated.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I understand it's more
factors
complicated.
that move into that.
Sure, fine. And
Like
people say, well, it was Obama's economy that he inherited. Oh, okay, but fine. But hold on a second. Save COVID, which was not in his power at all.
It was
He not just maintained that economy, he made it even better. Our border was more secure, our economy was more secure, crime rates were down. I mean, this wasn't
we weren't doing anything to because
Okay, and then Bill Maher there goes into something about the importance of addressing climate change, and Trump was going in the opposite direction on that. Perfectly fair point, but I think sometimes that's what MAGA wants to hear, for us to go, yeah, but what about environment, which is so important. They don't care about it though, so they love that argument. When I notice that there are things that I don't talk about enough because I know they don't compel the people that I think need compelling. And for someone who's sort of centrist, they need you to address the economics point first and foremost. Honestly, I mean, that by itself would have swayed the election if we had a better message on it. And I don't know if even a better message would have been heard, but if it were heard, it would have swayed the election. Okay. And that's something that, as I keep saying, we went over so many times. But the reason you can't bar, as he said, COVID is because your entire judgment on Biden's record economically is massively impacted by COVID, because his entire presidency was overseeing a recovery, epically, I might add, from COVID. And it's weird when they do that. And no, he didn't actually make more than the projections laid out, as we've reviewed. The Obama era economy, so much better. It just kept chugging in the direction that it was expected to, regardless of who became president next, unless they really messed things up. But then whenever Trump had a chance to actually show if he could lead in a time of a crisis, which is something that presidents are judged in their ability to handle if they didn't cause the crisis, but mishandled it, we still judge them. And he completely mismanaged it and left a disaster for Biden-Harris. And then they say exclude for Trump's record COVID, but include it in how it impacted prices, include it for how it impacted the lives of people and made it hard to recover for Biden-Harris. It's just not a fundamentally logical. I won't even say honest. I think a lot of people are trying to be honest and are just getting discombobulated about things. It's not a fundamentally logical argument. That's it. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Support the show by clicking that join button below.